A or B? A or B? Actually, there we go. That's kind of cool. What's up? Hi, Caroline. It is 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 7th. This is your episode of Just Ethan. That would make me Ethan. Hi, we can hear you. Awesome, Naomi. Yeah, I know. I was talking a little loud, wasn't I? Anyway, as always, we'd like to give a couple minutes for people to get in and get settled. So say hello. Let me know where you're from. Hey, Anissa. Hey, Pavitt. It's great to see you too, Naomi. Pavitt tuning in. It's late, but it's always good to see you. And always good to see you, Anissa, as well, and Caroline. Deciding A or B? A or B? What's up, Melanie? How are you? It's super late here, but really, really, really needed someone to talk to. Well, I'm glad you're here. You're in the right place, Pavitt. We love you, so we're always here to talk to you. Video is frozen. Maybe refresh the screen, Anissa. Although if it's frozen, you're not hearing what I'm saying, so maybe that's not helpful. Hi, Susan Boaz. Miss you. Hey, Becky from Utah. Evan is here. Phyllis is here. Yeah, you can either try refreshing, you can open and close your browser, or Jess has posted the link to the YouTube. You can also view this on the YouTubes. It's one YouTube, but I like to call it the YouTubes. And we will get started in just one sec. I'm just debating if anybody wants to be that close to me. And I'm also really bright. Okay, it's working. Awesome, Anissa. Joe, Harris County, Houston, Texas, Harris County. It's 5 p.m. here. Hartford, Connecticut. Hey, Nicole in Hartford. I've visited New Haven many times and flown into Hartford. I like the airport in Hartford. Anyway, let's get rolling. We have lots and lots to talk about and never enough time. Hold on, let me turn down the brightness just a little bit. I promise I will make up the time. But I feel like I'm glowing here. Your skin looks awesome. Thank you, Melanie. I appreciate that. Margaret Sisson. Hi, Margaret. Margaret Sisson, the executive director of Riley's Wish, which if you haven't, please, please, please go online and go to rileyswish.com, Margaret, rileyswish.com. It's a wonderful organization. Margaret's an incredible advocate and a dear, dear friend of mine. And you've seen her. She was the first guest on this stream. So she is out riding horses and having a good time. So hi, Margaret. Thank you for tuning in. Okay, so let's get rolling here. And Pavitt, I did see your comment up above. OCD can be a lonely place, and we all need support and friends who don't judge and who are just there for a hug. You're absolutely right. And there is absolutely no judgment here from anyone. And if there's judgment, we boot them, because that's the rules. It's only support and love and kindness and self-compassion in this space. That's the way it rolls. So Pavitt, I'm extremely glad you're here. Let's get to the housekeeping, and then we can get to some conversation. So my name is Ethan Smith. I'm the National Ambassador for the International OCD Foundation, which simply means I have OCD and like to talk about it a lot, as you know. Quickly, this town hall is intended to serve as educational content and is not intended to replace therapy, because I am not a therapist. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline and should not be used if you're in distress or feel unsafe. If you're in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room, call 911, or call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 800-273-8255, which is currently hanging off my chin. Looks good. Okay. Was not making light of the suicide hotline at all, just making a really questionable joke. Let's see. As always, we want to be respectful and kind of others. That is a primary rule here. So this is public. It is being recorded. Oh no, there's another OCD Zoom thing right now. Will this be available later? Yes. Wait, what do you mean will this be available later? Will the Zoom thing be available later, Spencer? We're prioritizing here. I'm just kidding. Yes, this is being recorded. It will be available and live on the interwebs for years and years to come. So please feel free to head up the IOCDF Facebook or YouTube page, and you can rewatch the live stream. As I was saying, though, it is being recorded, and so this is public, but we like to create as safe a space as possible. So always, always be kind and supportive of everyone here, not only me, but everyone in the chat as well. So guess what? Here's the sitch. I didn't prepare a whole lot for tonight because I just wanted to have a conversation. I think things are weird. They've been weird, but I think things are weird. And I was kind of thinking about just continuing. And I know in the we're calling this, sort of maintaining mental health and just healthy attitude overall in this resurgence of COVID. But really, there's a lot going on in the world right now, and as this continues to move forward in all things, sort of the question I keep asking myself is with everything is how do we continue to stay optimistic and stay in a healthy frame of mind and not try to internalize everything that's going on outside, because it's a lot, and it's definitely overwhelming for a lot of people. Hi, Marissa. First, from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. This is my first time watching. Well, thank you for coming. I don't know why I'm so used to being with groups of people. I appreciate you showing up and saying hello. You'll catch on very quickly. It's just a lot of me talking, but we open it up to questions, which we will do very, very soon. So please, please, please feel free to start loading your questions in the comments, and we will get to those shortly because I definitely want to have a convo with everyone. So please, with that in mind, feel free to ask any questions you want. No question is off topic, except I don't answer medication questions because I am not a psychiatrist. Did play a doctor on TV, but I didn't prescribe any medication, so I really can't talk about medication. But I also, hey, Stacey Conroy. I also want to talk about just the state of everything and get your thoughts and hear how you're coping and how you're doing and your things that are working for you, things that aren't working for you. I really would like this to be a collaborative conversation. Yes, this is a live stream, but as far as I'm concerned, this is you and me one-on-one talking about the stuff that's important to us and how we can support each other through these extremely complicated times, I would say. I think that's a fair assumption to say. I'm doing well today, Ashley. How are you? I'm actually having a pretty good week. Last week, when we last spoke, I talked about a dog attack and a trigger, my OCD and anxiety for about a week and a half that kind of spiked things. I'm doing better. My OCD has returned to baseline or sort of my norm. And so I can't complain, honestly. Ashley, things are good. Nikki, I didn't forget you. I would never forget you. I forgot you. I can't lie. No, of course I didn't. Hi, Nikki. Okay, so I'm really distracted today. It's like every comment is like squirrel. So my question to everyone is, how are we all doing right now? How are we all faring right now with everything that's going on? I know everybody's in a different state or a different country. The circumstances are different and unique for each individual, and which makes everybody's concerns and fears valid. But I think it's important to talk about what's going on right now, and then how do we keep on keeping on, and some of the things that I'm doing that are working, that are not working, and how do we continue to make the current situation manageable, and continue to make our own lives manageable. And so I can obviously speak from personal experience as to the things that I'm going through, but I'm equally as interested to hear everything that you're going through. And as opposed to doing like a formal Q&A, normally I talk for about 20, 30 minutes and then we Q&A for 30 minutes. I'd really like to have a conversation this week. And so please feel free to conversate with me and leave comments, whether they're questions or not. And we can continue to kind of talk within this conversation. So what's going on? Well, there's if you're in the States, Obviously, there's a surge in COVID cases. COVID is on the rise in something or 38 or 40 of the 50 states. I almost thought there's 52 states, but that's cards in a deck. So clearly I'm doing well today. So that's pretty stressful. Race continues to be a major conversation, which is a very important conversation to have. We support that at the IOCDF, and I support that personally. Of course, I came on and made a statement, but that's very heavy and necessary and important conversation that's happening. There was a lot of violence in the United States this past weekend, which was absolutely awful. And so it really feels like there's just this huge amount of stuff going on. And I think that obviously creates a lot of continued uncertainty and a lot of continued sort of perfect storm events where DC might become a state soon too. You're absolutely right. So I'm curious as to how everyone is doing, as I said before, and I'll give you a little insight into how I'm doing, and maybe we can work on some action items and some skills and tools that maybe help each other as we continue on in these uncertain times. So, but at first I want to get to Marissa. Says, I'm feeling very depressed and very scared about getting other people sick. And I think, I'm glad to hear you're doing all right, Thomas, and good to see you, by the way. I think that's a very valid concern, Marissa. And I know for all of you watching, I'll read it again, Marissa's depressed and very scared about getting other people sick. I think most of us here have that concern and are worried. We don't want to get sick. We don't want to get other people sick. What if we bring it home? What if makes us a bad person? The whole moral scrupulous component of that, and just all the unknowns surrounding COVID and everything that's going on. I'm super bummed, honestly, that we're talking about it again. I had really hoped that we'd moved away and it was going to get less and less of a conversation, and kind of here we are back in the thick of it again with all this mixed information and experts saying completely different things. And one guy says one thing and one girl says the next thing, and the state says one thing and the city says another thing, and it's super confusing and really stressful. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. I feel it's super confusing and really stressful. And who do you listen to, and what do you do, and where do you go, and how do you make sense of it all? I think that's a fair question to ask. Sorry, just making a note. Nope, that's not what I meant to do. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate that comment, Marissa, and I know that many people here are depressed or upset and very scared about the situation in general. And Kristen wrote, "Yeah, it's hard not to worry about accidentally making friends and family sick." Karen Naline wrote, "I was just beginning to try to get better at socializing and social skills, and then Uncle Sam said no more." That's true. That's another way. That's another issue to look at. A lot of people obviously also struggle with, they were struggling with contamination and did a lot of hand washing, had finally got to a place where they were no longer hand washing. And then when all of this hit, they were not required, but suggested to wash their hands for upwards of 20 seconds. So I think there's a lot of things going on. So the first thing is, for me, is I don't know that anything has changed from day one. I could be wrong about this. This is my opinion. But in terms of uncertainty, it's the same uncertainty. It's the same amount of uncertainty. It's in our faces still, and it's still going. I think what's changed is that I think we all expected some sort of relief by now, and it's sort of resurging again, which is really disheartening. Appropriately disheartening for a multitude of reasons. People are sick. People are dying. One life is too many lives. And so I think that at first, it hit and there was a lot of uncertainty and fear, and we didn't know what was happening or what was expecting, and then what to expect. And then we kind of made it through that, and things started to open up a little, and there was a glimmer of hope, and like, okay, maybe we have this under control. And then suddenly everything's going on again. And I think, how do you maintain any gains that you've made? How do you maintain optimism? How do you stay? And I'm asking you, I'm not only saying these as rhetorical questions, like I'm sincerely asking you, what are you guys doing to kind of keep focused and stay mentally healthy as best you can. So this is why I should take notes, because I'm really not, I'm kind of rambling a little bit. I apologize. I think that, and Marissa and Nicole, I'll read your comment in 1 second. I think that the uncertainty is the same. I think that it spiked again, which is scary. I think we had expectations and hopes that are now, we're questioning even more. It feels even more realistic that life may not return to what it was, at least in the very near future. And then everything with school coming up and the end of summer, and it's a lot to take on. And so the question is, how do you continue to live in a healthy manner that's toward your values during this time, especially at a time where everything seems to be going a little awry. And in some ways, in a good way, I think the Black Lives Matter conversation is absolutely necessary, and it needed to be had long, long ago. And I don't want to get started talking on that subject, but you know, that's a very good thing. That conversation is super necessary, and I'm so glad we're having it. And I'm grateful for it. But it still doesn't mean that it isn't stressful. It's still a hard conversation to have. And so with all this stuff, how do we cope? Nicole said staying connected with trusted friends has been key for my coping. I think that's huge. I think isolation is really dangerous. It is anyway. You know, if you're susceptible to depression, staying in touch with other people, having conversations, hearing good news from other people, really staying close to your circle and what's going on in your own life with the things that you can control is really, really important. And I've done much of the same thing, Nicole, in staying in touch with my close friends as well. Anissa also said keeping in touch with family and close friends or Zoom calls regularly rather than isolating helps a great deal. Absolutely. Natalie Diaz wrote, I'm a psychotherapist and I've always found like I can manage the stress that comes with that role, but lately I've been struggling somewhat. I'll get to that question, Natalie, or that comment in a moment. Yeah, Stacy Conroy, phone calls and FaceTime. Absolutely. Thomas wrote, Debbie wrote, looking for extra supports. I agree with that. Thomas wrote, I feel like I've just become used to what is going to inevitably be reported to me, but it's also been okay. I stay busy, go outside, visit what I can, look forward to the future still. I think that's a beautiful, beautiful comment, Thomas. And I want to sit on this comment for a second, because I completely agree with everything you said here. Thomas, I think becoming used to what they're going to say is both a good thing and a bad thing. You plan for the worst, you hope for the best, right? And it's kind of like anxiety and OCD. If we can expect to have the thoughts there, then they don't surprise us. And if we don't have them, that's great too. So I kind of treat the news the same way. If the news isn't awful today, that's a win. And if it's kind of more of the same, then at least I kind of expected it. And then I can respond in a flexible way. But basically what Thomas has said here, by saying, but it's been okay. I stay busy. I go outside. I visit what I can, which I think I visit who I can, and look forward to the future still, is really Thomas's paying close attention to what's in front of him in his own life and sort of his small circle, his world. And I think, at least for me, that's how I've been getting by, is really paying attention to what's in front of me, what I can control, what's in the near future, and really being mindful of the small things in life that maybe we passed by before, but have become really more meaningful, like the human connection, like the friend connection, like exercise or going outside or meditating or you know, anything that we can still do that isn't, you know, obviously going out to bars or nightclubs or whatever, anything like that. I think Thomas really hit it on the head here with staying simple and living mindfully. Is a really, really huge coping skill right now, and really applies to anything that's going on. And it's important to remember that doing that isn't selfish. You're not ignoring the realities of the world. You're not ignoring important conversations or or necessary conversations or important things that are happening. It's you can still be part of those huge conversations, and you can still be part of making a difference, and you can still be tuned into what's going on. But the reality of it is we have so little control over so much, and really all we have control of ourselves and our focus and behavior. And so what are we doing for those 23 out of 24 hours a day? And I really, really like what Thomas said, because I agree, and I'm curious to what other people think. I find during the day that I have what I call these little moments of panic, where I'll just be going about my day and I immediately get this thought about COVID, specifically about what if I have it and I'm giving it to my parents, and I get really panicky for a second, because it feels even more tangible for me personally. It feels more tangible than it did 2-3 months ago, and I just have to like reground myself and replant my feet on the ground and take a breath and let that thought be there and acknowledge that it's a thought. And while it may or may not happen, I don't have any evidence to that in the moment, and just have to kind of keep going. And eventually the thought dissipates. And, yes, it's a reality and it's a scary thought. And I could wake up in the morning and have a fever or not taste or smell. And that's very terrifying, because COVID reacts differently to everybody. So who knows? And that's also why there's more uncertainty and more uncertainty. But I think, staying in the moment, present-minded, and managing what you know now is the best way to deal with kind of all this stuff happening. So actually, Thomas, thank you for that, because you kind of touched on a lot of my little bullet points that I discussed about, which is focusing on your own life and the life that you can control. You may not agree with everyone around you. I definitely didn't agree with my parents at the beginning. I'm quarantined with them. I didn't agree with the way they were doing things at first. Sorry, Mom, if you're watching. They're doing great now. But inevitably, I just had to pay attention to me and do the best I could in my own life with what I was doing, and just accept everything else that was going on. Christina wrote, I'm trying to wash my hands for 20 seconds one time, and then I'm done so I don't overwash them. Absolutely. Sorry, everything updated and I lost where I was. It happens. I apologize. I'll find myself. Where did you go, Christina? Oh, yes. Because OCD, sorry, washing my hands 20 seconds. Yes, because OCD won't be happy. So inevitably, we're going to be uncertain or uncomfortable regardless. And so when it comes to hand washing, let's do the 20 seconds. Let's sanitize for the 20 seconds, and we move forward and take the chance that we can, because that's what we know to do. I want to get to Nicole's question. The violence was a trigger for me, but I am working through it. COVID is lowered in numbers in Connecticut, where I live, and I am here willing and able to support others dealing with the uncertainty of rising cases elsewhere. It has been confusing with reopenings where I am, and it's thrown my anxiety curveballs on a daily basis, but you roll with it best you can and keep checking in with yourself. Beautifully said, Nicole. What great advice. And what you're describing there is flexibility, which is the arch nemesis of OCD. OCD wants rigidity. It wants what it wants. And literally what Nicole is saying is just ride the waves and float over them. And right now, numbers are low, cases are low in Connecticut. That tri-state area had their spikes, and now she's trying to be supportive of other states that are going through their surges, so to speak. But OCD, anxiety, none of it likes change, because change isn't constant. Obviously, change isn't constant, but OCD likes consistency. It likes a routine. And when there's change, it freaks out. And so that's why the flexibility, because the ability to remain flexible with change and accept the change and not be too rigid yourself, whether it's OCD or not, just be like, understand. That's what's kind of hard. Nicole kind of hit the nail on the head, is with everything going on, everything changes from one news cycle to another, or 1 hour to another. It's constantly morphing into something new. And so like, we can't really take comfort in something like, okay, this is it, we're finally good. It's literally sort of like constantly on your toes and expecting things will change or differ in some way from one moment to the next. So then the question is, how do we react? And if you think about it, it's really no different than OCD in our thoughts. It's like thoughts constantly change, and we respond differently to thoughts. But at the end of the day, it's not so much the thoughts, it's how we react to the thoughts. We know that that's what matters with OCD. And so, yes, the information is changing, but how do we react to that information? Are we willing to remain flexible with it and maneuver accordingly? And that really is what helps us maintain a sense of control. And I say that lightly because we don't have control, but in letting go of control, you feel more in control because you're just willing to accept what comes and deal with it when it comes. And so there's great power in that. Marissa said, what is scary is that when I was sent home today because my dad was tested for COVID and I started having symptoms, my boss said I need to quarantine. And with having OCD, I feel defeated. That's a really tough situation, Marissa. And I think that you don't need OCD. I know you acknowledge it, but you obviously don't need OCD to be triggered by any of that. You said your dad was tested for COVID. I'm not sure if he has COVID. Maybe you wrote that down below. But that is absolutely a difficult situation. But what I will say is that stick with what you know in this moment. Try not to get too far ahead of yourself in terms of the what if scenarios. And I know that's hard. Just be compassionate with yourself. Be graceful with yourself. Find out what your dad's results are. Start paying attention to your symptoms. Take care of yourself. Rest. And just try to stay as present in the moment. And I think you're already winning. You're here now. I know when I struggle, like it's very hard for me to do other things. I will ruminate. And so just by being here and engaging in this conversation and asking questions, you're already like doing exactly what you should be doing. But I'm sorry you're not feeling well. I hope that it is nothing. But even if it is COVID, I sincerely hope that it's a super light case and you're going to be totally fine. And we are here to support you in any way that we can. So thank you for being here, Marissa. Appreciate it. I'm going to go back down. So Natalie wrote, I'm a psychotherapist and I've always found like I can manage the stress that comes with the role, but lately I've been struggling somewhat. Natalie, that's a great point. I don't want to speak too much to that because I'm not a therapist. However, you're definitely not alone. I have a lot of I have a lot of interaction with multiple therapists, and obviously having done multiple town halls over the last 4 months. And you're all human. Everyone's human, and at the end of the day, we all have our stuff to deal with. And a lot of therapists and clinicians that I've talked to are either struggling in a similar way that you are, or feeling fraudulent, or having imposter syndrome around this, which simply means they don't feel like they should be dispensing advice or helping people in a psychotherapeutic role because they're also struggling, which isn't the case. But there are some great groups online, clinician groups online that are all having these conversations. If you'd like to email me at justethan at IOCDF.org, I'd be happy to give you some lists of places you can possibly talk to other psychotherapists going through similar things, because you're definitely not alone in that. But you can absolutely practice successfully and still have the feels. It's sort of like acceptance commitment therapy. You can do both, but you're definitely not alone in that. Thomas said, got to get the rest of my virtual OCD conference stuff done. That's something to look forward to. Absolutely. Anissa, and I think I saw a comment. Anissa, I might have skipped your comment up above. You mentioned something about Wisconsin, and I think your son. And again, I think you're living with uncertainty too with your son in treatment. But I would continue to stay positive and optimistic, and and getting over. But treatment for OCD is a process. It's a lifelong process, and it is a process, and it takes time, and there's no exact time frame. It's different for everyone. So we just kind of remain optimistic and hopeful, and he's in a great place, and that's we can take comfort in that. Carolina wrote, remind myself that in the grand scheme of things, a year or two of being separated from my family isn't that long. I don't know the circumstances under which you're separated from your family, but no, in the grand scheme of life, that's always great to reframe. That's called a reframe. And I think that's a great reframe. Thomas continued, as much as it sounds against the grain, avoiding absolute isolation helps. We're not going to realistically lock ourselves inside and never reach out. It's like, I expect this news, but what do I do? So it's very important, and we've used this term before. It's very important that social distancing is a really, really misleading term. What we're really doing is physically distancing. Social distancing was a terrible word that they used from the beginning, and I hated it, because we should not be socially distancing. We should be physically distancing in terms of physical relation to one another. Socially, we should be as engaged, if not more engaged, that we've ever been. And I'm not talking about physically socially. I'm just saying on a social capacity. That's what we need. We need the support. We need the friendships. We need the relationships. We need the conversations. We need all of those things. And so, you know, I wish they would just switch to physical distancing, because that's what we're talking about here. Okay, I'm off my soapbox now. Valerie wrote, I found this week to be more challenging than before. I'm feeling totally fed up and struggling to stay focused. The world is chaotic. However, I've been walking to help with mood changes. You know, Valerie, I felt very much the same way. Valerie, by the way, is an awesome advocate. If you've seen the documentary, she is in the documentary, and she's just a wonderful human being. That very much sums up how I felt. I was starting to feel fed up and struggling to stay focused and feeling a bit worn down by everything that's been happening, feeling less tolerable of all the situations and everything that's going on. The world does feel chaotic. And but then I come back to Thomas, which is like, when you feel bombarded by all this stuff that's happening and stuff that you don't necessarily have direct control over. We do have control over our choices and can make a difference, but you know, that's really when we turn to our own lives and our own people and our own friends and our own things that we're able to do that we find passionate or cathartic. I mean, and right after that, Valerie says, I have been walking to help with the mood changes, and walking helps, tuning into nature helps. And I know it's not the normal, and I know we can get inside of our heads about it and feel, you know, that this isn't the same. I would like to believe that we will get back to where we were at some point. And I don't know when that is. And it seems longer than shorter. And I would like to believe that we will get closer to some semblance of normalcy sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, I find I remain the most balanced and the most grounded when I kind of acknowledge those thoughts, acknowledge what's going on, let those thoughts be there, but then really focus in on where I'm at in this moment, what I'm doing, what I have to do, and be okay with that, and be okay with this new normal, and not look at it like, or try not to look at it like it's some waiting room. I'm trying to live into this idea of what's going on and be accepting of this new reality, hopefully temporary reality. And in doing so, how can I make the most of it? What can I do to stay connected, to make new friends, to meet people, to engage in work and engage in creative ideas and things like that, and try not to I don't want to use the word heart, but try not to stay too focused on the things that I've lost or the things that I don't have. And we've done tons of sessions in town halls on grief and mourning, and that is completely different. Like, we're all grieving and mourning the lives that we had and the things that we were doing. But I think that that this acceptance of where we are in this moment, and not so much trying not to wish we could go back or wish things were differently. It's okay to wish that, but let those thoughts be there and still really embrace what is now and make the most of it. At least for me, has been really helpful. Margaret Chisholm says, I control the things I can, reaching out to friends, family, etc. Absolutely, Margaret. Margaret is a really amazing example of turning pain into purpose. Again, rileyswish.com, and also just really living in the moment despite incredible stress. And she's one of the most inspirational people I know, and an inspiration to me in all that she does. So so I always, when Margaret offers advice, I listen to it. She also kind of scares me. She's tough, and she can easily beat me up. So that's valid too. Nikki, I am paying attention to you. I had a really positive day today. I spoke to someone who's going to help me out with my ongoing issues with my house. As last, I've met a businessman who actually understands mental health issues and is aware of real OCD and not just interested in making money. It's awesome, Nikki. I love to hear that. I think that there's silver linings in a lot of this stuff, you know, and it's about more good days than bad, and celebrate the wins. I mean, celebrate the wins, whatever the win is for you. That's awesome, Nikki. Margaret said, appreciate what I can do. That's exactly what I was talking about. That's perfect, Margaret. Thank you for saying that. That's literally what I was touching at, was like the reality of where we are. Like, just appreciate what I am able to do. I can still grieve what I'm missing, but I can still be appreciative of where I'm at in this moment and look for the good. So Ashley wrote, connection to nature via gardening has been so awesome. Some people are okay, but the plants are much more tolerant and accepting. You know, Ashley, there was a really shift for me when this all started. When I went outside, and I talked about it before, but I went outside, I was really, really upset, disturbed, This was like right in March, maybe third or fourth week in March, beginning of April. And I went outside and I heard the birds singing and I just started crying. And hearing the birds singing were like, they were normal. It was something that was still happening and still going on amidst all this other stuff. And it really comforted me. It really made me realize that despite everything that was going on, things were still happening in the world that were happening before all of this. And I agree. Nature has been a really, really, really like key tool for me, both in staying grounded and staying balanced and staying entertained, and staying tuned in. And I mean, just all the things. Nature has really been a remarkable place. I know, Marissa, I get scared that I'm the reason someone may die. I think so many of us relate to that, and that is a valid fear. And at the same time, we just have to do the best we can, recognize what's OCD and what isn't OCD, and try to live in accordance with our values and do the best we can, and you know, and lean on their support system for sure. Let me go a little faster. I apologize. Nicole, I went through a similar process with my parents, Ethan. I get it. Huge learning and letting go and acceptance for me. Yeah, it is so hard for those of you that may have neighbors or you see people out in stores that, you know, that aren't social distancing or not wearing masks or whatever. Or if it's family, it's really, really hard to not say something or try to not bend them to what you think everybody should be doing. And I kept butting heads against my parents. They felt differently than I felt. We were all living here. I was, you know, and I talked with my own therapist, and she's like, listen, you know, you can communicate in a compassionate way once or twice, but at the end of the day, they're going to do what they're going to do. And you have to decide if that's something you want to live with or not. And if you don't want to live with, leave, you know. And she was right. And, you know, we're continuing to, I just kind of let it go and live my own life and do the best I can and try to have, you know, meaningful and collaborative conversations. And it's worked out really well. It's a lot less stress. It's a lot less, way less arguments, and things are going much, much better. So it is huge learning and letting go and acceptance for me too, Nicole, but it is worth it. And it does work. Thomas wrote, that's a very valid fear we've heard very often nowadays. I think he's referring to, Marissa, your fear. But you can only control so much. You're aware, prudent, and as informed as you can be. That is just simply too big of a burden and worry for you to carry like that. And I agree, you know, regardless of what happens, Marissa, and what turns out, you know, you've done the best you can. You've lived the best way you can. You've tried to be smart, and, you know, we'll take the information as it comes and not try to get too far ahead of ourselves. Because in reality, let's put it this way. Before COVID, you could have had a cold and walked by an immunocompromised person. You could have had the flu and walked by an immunocompromised person. We all went out with sick and did stuff and tried to not sneeze everywhere or wipe our hands on something. But we really, who knows what we passed along or didn't pass along. And so that's where I say, like, the uncertainty really hasn't changed. It's just in our faces, considerably in our faces all the time. And I've used the analogy, turbulence doesn't bother me on an airplane until the flight attendants sit, and then they panic, and then I panic because they're panicking. And so we're just seeing a lot of panic in our faces. So if I replaced COVID with car accidents, and if every time there was a car accident, it was on the news and reported as a special, you know, this just in, we would never get in a car. They would ban cars based on the way we're responding to COVID, right? I'm not saying the response isn't appropriate. I'm just saying that nobody would get in a car. So we have to recognize that there was already ridiculous amounts of uncertainty, and OCD would have latched on to something else in some other way that we may or may not have hurt somebody. And so we also have to remember that that's at play too. Megan said it's hard to live to your values without the normal systems and people in place. No physical workspace, not interacting with the same people every day, no gym or sports classes, etc. There's ways around it, but the lack of routine and direct socialization connection makes maintaining or improving hard. And then finding it harder over time, every day seems longer than the last. It's a great comment, Megan, and I think that's so valid. You know, I would say this. I would say that don't try to recreate the life that you had. I know that seems obvious, and I'm in no way being snarky with you. I just know that I think we all tried to maintain in the beginning, you know, and the reality is life is different. And so the question then becomes, how can we adapt in a way that's still meaningful? How can we recreate some of these things that were values? You know, for instance, if we look at your question, and I kind of break it down because you start by saying it's hard to live your values without the normal systems in place. So no physical workplace, but are you still working? Is work of value to you? Are you still able to work? If you're still working, then the way you're engaging in your values is different, but the value is still present, right? You interacting with the same people every day, that's hard. And I'm, again, not saying this is easy at all. It's all grieving what we've lost, but at the same time, are you interacting with people? Who are you interacting with? Are you still talking with friends? Are you still engaging in your friendships? And if so, those are values. No gym or sports classes, but if health and fitness is a value to you, are you still getting out? Are you still exercising? Are you still doing your things? It's really about, yes, all the things that we loved and all the routines that we had. And routine is so important for OCD, which is why so many of us are really struggling during this time, because our routines have been completely uprooted. But part of this process is this ability to take a look at our values and then figure out other ways to engage in them and be flexible in that way. And so I'd be curious, Megan, if you are engaging in those values in other ways. And again, it doesn't make it all better. It's not easy, but we also have to look at the wins, be gentle with ourselves, and try again to remain flexible. Nancy Foster, I haven't gotten out much at all, and I am having to go to the medical appointment, super stressed because I can't find disinfecting wipes for steering wheel, credit card, whatever I touch, etc. Nope, I totally recommend. I mean, totally understand that, Nancy, and I think going to medical appointments is intense. I'm pretty sure that they will have I'm reassuring, but whatever, I'm sure they will have wipes there, and then when you get home, and just be mindful and do the best you can. That's all we can do at this point. Stacy Beth, how to deal with feeling alone, lonely, yet also not motivated to reach out to people during COVID? Great question. So I would say to you that this is a perfect time for what's called opposite action, which is we have to really look at how we're feeling and then not respond to how we're feeling. A lot of us are feeling sad or tired or depressed or upset or concerned and all of those things. And those of us with OCD, we're very used to acting on how we feel. If we don't feel like something, then we probably won't do it. Depression's the same way. And that's where the not motivated comes from, right? If we don't feel like it, as you said, feeling alone, lonely, and then you're not motivated to reach out, that's not uncommon. And I know when you say it out loud, it doesn't seem logical. If you're lonely, reach out, but that's not how it works, right? The more lonely and isolated we feel, the more we want to retreat and shut in and not reach out. So some good ways to do or to deal with that is to not act based on your feelings. So even if you feel, so Stacy, I would ask you that even if you feel alone and even if you feel lonely, are you still able to pick up the phone and call or text someone, a friend, somebody who needs help? Is there somebody that you can support? And it's okay to reach out to somebody even if you're feeling crappy about it or you don't feel like doing it. I know it feels like you can't, but it's still a choice. It's still an I won't. As long as I understand it, you're still physically able to pick up and connect with someone. And it doesn't have to be a phone call. If you feel more comfortable as a text or chat at first, then that's fine too. There's no rules, but this idea of you don't have to act based on how you feel. You can feel crappy. You can feel alone. You can feel depressed and still act in accordance with your values. And don't do it with the expectation that you'll feel better afterwards. Do it with the expectation that it's simply about the action, that it's simply about engaging with a friend. And if you feel crappy afterwards, that's okay. It's not about feeling better. It is long-term, and you will feel better over time. But right now, the question just becomes, and this goes for anything, by the way, guys, and this is something I use in my life all the time. This isn't just about reaching out to friends. This is about exercising, work, getting outside, eating, anything that you're struggling with, right? We can do it and feel crappy at the same time. And over time, that message gets resent to our brain and we start feeling better because every day we're going to bed sort of even though we may not feel it, but we've had a win as opposed to a day of avoidance. And a day of avoidance signals to our brain basically saying, oh, we didn't do anything we were supposed to do today. And our self-worth goes down and our self-esteem goes down and we start beating ourselves up and we become really judgy with ourselves and all of those things. Katie O'Dunn is here. Hi, Katie and Maxwell. I know it doesn't sound lovely at all. I'm sorry, Katie. So patience needs to have compassion. So patients need to have compassion for the therapists who are struggling and trying to put on a brave front. That's a question. And, Debbie, I think that it's not so much that patients have to have compassion for the therapists who are struggling. It's just acknowledging that they're human. I don't think the therapists should be bringing their struggles into the therapy room. And if they are, they shouldn't be practicing at that moment. I think it's not your responsibility. Your therapy time, that whatever that 15 minutes or an hour, that is your time to come in and focus on what you need to focus on. And if you're not able to do that because your therapist is struggling, then that's a serious conversation you need to have with your therapist and potentially switch to a different therapist. But you don't need therapists are human beings, and it's okay for therapists to be struggling in their own life and still offer effective treatment for you. So as long as you're still receiving the same quality of care that you were receiving before, it doesn't really matter what's going on in their life or what they're struggling with. Quite frankly, lots of therapists have a lot of crap going on long before COVID, and we're still excellent therapists. But so you can have compassion in the sense that they're humans and you don't want them to struggle or suffer, but not have compassion to the point where it's interfering with your own therapy. If it's interfering with your own therapy, you can have compassion for them as a human, but that means they're not doing their job effectively. And so then you have every right to bring that up and have a conversation and really make sure what's best for you. Natalia, I'm a therapist too, currently not practicing. Keep going. I truly believe that walking your path and embracing how you struggle enables you to witness the path of others. It's true. It's true. And to the point I just made, Natalia, and Nicole, if you're at a point where you can't treat clients in a healthy way, that's okay. Just don't do it and take care of you. We have to put on our own oxygen masks first. So there's no shame in taking a step back and taking care of you first. But there's also zero shame in having your own life struggles, no different than you have before, being a human being and still coming into the office and doing your job. And you may be more anxious. I think the thing with therapy and something I'm remembering in these conversations, and I think what's throwing therapists more is they're experiencing symptomatology that their patients have been having. So it's not so much they're struggling in their own lives, they're experiencing anxiety and they're experiencing uncertainty to a level that they hadn't been experiencing it before. They've been experiencing aspects of OCD that they hadn't experienced before. And and correct me, Nicole or Natalia, if I'm wrong, please let me know. But there's suddenly a closer relationship, and I think Nicole touches on this. There's suddenly more common ground, which can be scary because, like, oh my God, if I'm having some of the issues that my patient is having, then I shouldn't treat them, and that's just not true. But it's different and it feels weird, and I think that's a lot of what's going on here. Sorry, my comments adjusted, so let me go back up. Okay, good point. Physical distancing used to be at my parents'. I'm going to move a little further to the questions. I love Ashley. Why go back when you can go forward? Absolutely. I think we can acknowledge the past. We can have feelings about the past, but it's in the rearview mirror, and we want to look forward and do the best we can to move in that direction. Resistance is what causes more anxiety. Accepting the situation really, really helps. You're very wise, Ethan. I appreciate that, Anissa. Honestly, I just steal good material from other smarter people, but I appreciate that. It's true, though. I've learned from some amazing people in my own therapy, so I just steal their stuff and claim it as my own. But no, it is. And accepting is really hard, you guys. Like, I mean, you don't want to walk into a fire. You want to go around the fire or just not go toward the fire. When you're dealing with fears are your fire, but the way through the fears is through the fire. And so that's by no means an easy task or an easy ask of yourself, but accepting the situation and moving forward in accordance with your values and what's important for you. In the end of the day, that short-term pain is worth the long-term gain for sure. Thomas, I will say one thing that has really gotten to me in these last days is the shaming. Like, hey, most of us are just out here trying to do our best. I could do without memes of people swearing at me and guilting me, but I just got to treat it like everything else. The whole world is just stressed out. It's true. It's true. We're all just trying to do our thing. I basically get social media and rarely read the news. Didn't need hundreds of voices telling me what I'm doing wrong. Absolutely. Yes, Nikki, you are winning today for sure. I love this, Nick. Do you keep a win success journal or log? I absolutely should. That's a great idea. And for anybody who is currently still on, do what Nick's doing. Keep a win success journal. I keep a journal. And so I write my journal at least every other day. And in my journal, I have that, but I think a highlight reel. I'm also kind of attuned to observing my wins for the day. I don't tend to get tunnel visioned or sort of black and white all the time. I definitely do when I'm triggered, but typically my everyday baseline is not so much. So I unfortunately, I got to be honest with you guys, like advocacy is, you know, one of the best ways to, you know, stay healthy, stay well. Like we're in the moment here. We are here together right now. I'm not thinking about anything else. And so, you know, as much as it is for you, it's for me too. And so doing stuff like this really keeps me grounded and allows me to maintain perspective and helps me identify small wins for the day and successes for the day. And also I do a lot of self-compassion work, so that helps too. But I love the idea of a win success journal. Caroline just said, that's an awesome idea. Do you? Hi, Yvonne. It's good to see you. Hi, Ethan, Barbara Spieth, and Bethany Beach. Hi, Barbara. The rest of the world is just, okay. The weekend was tough. Renee, the weekend was tough, though, because I seriously thought I had COVID. I reached out to my therapist, and after some self-analysis, I realized this was my OCD. I never had health theme, but it seems to butt its ugly, stupid head in recently. Sorry, I'm reading these fast, you guys, and I'm not having Jess post them just because I really wanted to have a conversation. But yes, listen, the mind is a powerful tool. Before my OCD was self-harm, it was fear of illness, contamination. I was at the doctor all the time worrying I had everything. Back in the day, it was hypochondriasis or hypochondriac. And so for 20 years, and I talk about it, taking my temperature and all that stuff, I thought I had everything all the time. And so that is not a fun way to live for sure. And your mind is really good at convincing you of things, especially if you start having somatic symptoms. You can bring on, my anxiety used to manifest with nausea and dizziness. I could literally have most of the symptoms of whatever thing I was afraid of happening. Yeah, you did the right thing, which is you reach out to your therapist and work with them. And, there's no shame in going through what you went through, or having a spike, or thinking, or buying into something, or being afraid that you might have had COVID. It's your response to it, reaching out to your therapist, realizing and not analyzing what the situation was and making smart decisions for you. So I would say that's a huge win. Yes, it butted its stupid head. It may not have been something that you had before, but you put your practice into play, and that's really what counts. So good for you, Nicole. Yvonne, my dad died overnight. He was 72. He was sick and suffering for over 10 years. Oh man, I'm so sorry. My sincerest condolences, Yvonne, to your family and to you. I know that that's not easy at all, and even with anticipating over time, it's still never easy. So my heart goes out to you, Yvonne, and as always, but for everyone, but Yvonne, if you would like to email and talk, if it makes you anxious, whatever you need, I'll be happy to. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to have a conversation with you. It's justethan@iocdf.org. Suggestions to overcome loneliness. Yeah. So I think that connecting with people, like what you're doing right now, is a great way to overcome loneliness. Facebook groups, chat groups, friends, family, text, FaceTime. And I also think, I will say this, I don't know why I always itch. My nose gets itchy on these things. I don't know. It's weird. I will say this, B. I will also say that we have come from a world where we were in a rat race and we were going 24/7 and we were never stopped. Now we're in a position where, and not everybody, lots of people are still working and having jobs, but for a lot of us, we're kind of in a different rhythm. I think some of this is being okay, tolerating the stillness, tolerating the loneliness, tolerating, not all of it, but tolerating some of the lack of input or stimuli, because there just isn't the same amount. We're home a lot more. We can't go, just go to the restaurant and just zone out. And so as much as we want to engage in connecting with other people, I also think that tolerating aspects of feeling lonely or feeling bored or feeling is okay too, and working on that is a good thing too. It is an all or nothing thing. It's a balance. And also loneliness doesn't have necessarily mean that you need to connect with a person. You know, are you doing things that are meaningful to you? Are you doing things that turn you on? And I mean, don't mean that sexually. I mean that in a creative way. Or are you painting? Is there gardening? Is there working out? Or the things that occupy your mind that make you feel energized and recharged? Like all of those things are great ways. And I would say if you're feeling sad or depressed, engage in those things anyway, even if you don't feel like it. And if you don't, try something new. I don't know. I picked a project. I'm transferring all my VHS videos to digital, and I've been doing that. And I secretly want to do a paint by numbers. I've never said that yet out loud, but it's out there now, so it's going to happen. I'll share everybody my genius. I'm the worst artist, and I'm terrible at math, so I don't feel like paint by numbers will work for me. But we'll see. Okay, opposite action absolutely rocks. Everybody, Yvonne, you're getting lots of love and support here. So definitely read the quotes. Stacey Conrad, to overcome loneliness, I do FaceTime and Zoom. Something about seeing people helps. I am also rereading loved books with known characters. I love that. And Stacey, you literally just highlighted what I just said, which is a combination of connecting with real people and occupying your mind. So thank you for that, Stacey. Okay. I really hate when Hannah. Hi, Hannah. I've struggled so hard to find a therapist counselor during COVID. I had a therapist before COVID, but he didn't see me often. Then I graduated high school, and now I don't have one at all. You can go to the resource directory on the IOCDF.org website. I will say that all therapists are practicing virtually. And so what's great is if you don't have a therapist in your area or in your city, as long as they're in your state, they should be able to accommodate. I know there's insurance issues and all that, but definitely check out the resource directory. You can also go to peaceofmind.com. You do not have to be, I mean, all therapists have gone virtual at this point. So now is the best time, a better time, no time better than ever. You get what I'm trying to say. Now's a great time to reach out. There really is more access right now from the comfort of your own home than there ever has been before. And Hannah, if you'd like additional suggestions or like to tell me more about what you're going on, you can email me also. I'm going to have a lot of emails after today. I told a lot of people to email me, but be patient. I'll email. Pavitt, spot on, Ethan. Thank you, Pavitt. I appreciate it. I can't wait to come visit you in England. I've been to London in a million years, but I love it there. Very well said. I'm sorry that sounds disappointing. Sorry, I'm just scanning these. Might have to check that out. I really want a therapist who can help me ERP wise, but I've not had an OCD based therapist since I was first diagnosed. I mean, yeah, ideally, you know, you want to get a therapist that's doing ERP therapy. Also, there's lots of self-help online. There's great Instagram. Shoot me an email. Check out the resources on the IOCDF webpage. You can also download the NoCD app. It's called NOCD. Depending on what state you're in, they have tons of ERP resources. They have a vibrant OCD community, support community where you can talk, but they also offer teletherapy. I think they're licensed in 23 states. And so you can definitely check them out, Hannah, and potentially might have an opportunity to do video therapy through them. Their cost is a fraction of the cost of regular in-person therapy, and that might be a good option for you. Sorry, apologies. My thing keeps shifting, my comments. Oh, and also Health Unlocked, which we'll put a link to. Health Unlocked is the IOCDF's support group. I say support group, but it's really a community, a chat community where OCD sufferers, individuals with OCD can talk and bounce ideas and comment and things like that, like a Facebook group. So we'll definitely put a link to that. Again, more support for you, Yvonne. Ethan, try adult coloring in a mandala book. Oh my God, that sounds amazing. I just got sent a coloring book. I got to give a shout out to Not Alone Notes. I didn't for their Color Your Fears book. You got to check it out. We'll put a link in the post, but they came out with a really cool coloring book. I'll highlight it in a future video. I should have thought of that before. I'm sorry, Morgan and Molly. Oh yeah. My eBay hobby has been saving my grace. I turn on some music and go into my studio and take pictures of clothing. That's awesome, Renee. Absolutely. And that also speaks to the loneliness factors too. Ashley said in some states allow interstate treatment. I've been lucky to work with my former provider in a different state. Yes, some states do offer what's called reciprocity. Also, there's different clinicians licensed in multiple states. So that is an option too. So you can definitely check out the resource directory, and you can email the IOCDF specifically, as well as peaceofmind.com, and we can point you in the right direction in terms of treatment. The IOCDF has just posted a link to treatmyocd.com, which is an OCD. So thank you, Jess. There's also a site-packed thing for interstate teletherapy with select states. Oh, really? I don't know about that. I mean, I didn't know about that. I'm not disagreeing with you. Don't forget Kimberly Quinlan at CBT School. Nick Toth for the win. Yeah, I can't. Kimberly Quinlan's literally one of my favorite human beings alive. You can check out cbtschool.com online. She's a therapist in California. She is a phenomenal person. Follow her Instagram. You can follow her Instagram at Kimberly Quinlan. She has a really vibrant Instagram account, super positive. She also has a really great Facebook group. Is it CBT School at Facebook also? But yes. Kim Quinlan. Thank you, Nick Toth. Hi, Grace. I'm super late to the stream comments, but hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. Hi, Grace. You're never late. We're always happy to see you. Valerie, thank you for the reminder. So it is 8 o'clock. We are done, but we got through the comments and questions, which is awesome. That's a new one. So that is our win for today. Hey, I really, hi, Raquel in Puerto Rico. Better late than never. My dear friend Raquel, one of the bravest people I know. Hello, my darling. But anyway, thank you for, if you look at the bottom of the links, we put cbtschool.com, Kim Quinlan's post. So thank you for joining me tonight. Just some quick information. You can email the IOCDF at info@iocdf.org. You can also email me at justethan@iocdf.org as well. Just some quick housekeeping. We've got more programming for you this week. So tomorrow, July 8th, is Being a Person of Color in the OCD Community from 7 to 8:30 p.m. On the IOCDF Facebook and YouTube channel. So you won't want to miss that. And then Thursday, July 9th, so this Thursday from 7 to 8:30, we have Moral Scrupulosity Volume 3. This is the final volume in our trilogy with John Hirschfield and Patrick McGrath. So you will not want to miss Volume 3 and Thursday. As always, I want to thank the IOCDF and, of course, my partner behind the scenes, Jess, for doing her digital voodoo. The conference registration is open. I can tell you that the IOCDF is working exhaustively. They're working tirelessly to bring you as live of a conference as possible virtually. There's some really amazing things happen. They just posted a link to the conference registration. Please. This is a great opportunity. If you haven't been able to go in the past, this is a great opportunity to access 3 days of programming. There's exhibitors. It's just like the conference, and there's no lines at the bathroom. So you're getting an early preview of my terrible jokes, which you will hear again in 3 weeks. So apologies. So sign up for the conference. You are very welcome, Nancy Foster. Very welcome, and you're very welcome, Naki. I was looking at Nicole and then Nikki. Thank you, Nikki, and thank you, Nicole, for your very kind words. Yes, conference registration open. Lastly, if you haven't already, and when you want to be notified about all the programming the IOCDF is having over this month, definitely be sure to subscribe and follow on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. You can also check out the calendar on the IOCDF website for all our virtual content and live streams. You're very welcome, Barbara. You are very welcome. B, sorry, I don't know. Is your name Barbara B? But thank you, Barbara B, and you're welcome, Nick Toth. I'm gonna start a win journal. I think that's a great idea. And for somebody, I like to write. I'm a writer, but I think if somebody doesn't like to write, that's a really great, simple idea that they can do. Where it's almost like a gratitude journal where you write like 3 gratitudes for the day, and then throw off 3 wins, no matter how small. That's a great idea, Nick. And I will add that to my list of amazing ideas that I have stolen from other people and then use them as my own. So you will not get a percentage of the journals. I'm kidding. Anyway, I could keep talking because that's what I like to do. So thank you so much for spending tonight with me. Again, you can always email me at justethan@iocdf.org. You guys are awesome. Thank you for such a wonderful conversation. Thank you for your support. Thank you for supporting each other. Have a wonderful evening. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. Feel the feels. We will see you again in 2 weeks. You will see me again on Thursday if you'd like to join us for the Moral Scrupulosity. And that's it. Don't let OCD off the hook. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you soon. Good night.